Hello, welcome to the Thaiger and Lawyers, Guns and Money. This is a series of programs we do which tries to unravel some of the complexities of Thai law, and there's rarely a simple answer, but to unravel it, we've got Ben Hart, or should it be Benjamin Hart, from Integrity Legal. Hi, Ben.
Hi, how you doing? Either one works.
As long as they pay the bill, they can call you what they like.
Yeah, they may. Yeah, that's no problem.
So we did one recently about dying in Thailand. Not a particularly pleasant topic, but something that we may have to, whether we're a tourist or an expat who's living here permanently, something we may need to address. A lot of people said, look, the information was quite broad and we've got some specific questions. I've written some of their questions down.
Sure.
Let's go through them. So the first one, they said, well, what happens to the body?
That is going to depend on a lot of different factors, but mostly it will depend on really what you or your next of kin want to happen to the body.
So it's your choice.
Yes. We often advise our clients to specifically make mention of any preferences they want in their will with respect to that issue. The other thing is, and this is actually something that the embassy, in the case of most of the clients we deal with, we're dealing with the U.S. Embassy, although we have dealt with British, Australia as well in the past. But the embassies generally are very proactive on this when their nationals pass away here in Thailand, and they will make immediate arrangements with the Thai government.
Yep.
They will get what's called in the American context, it's called a consular report of death abroad. That is you'll get a Thai death certificate, but you also get this consular report of death abroad. That's for use in your home country, for instance, America. As far as the body goes, the embassy will make a lot of arrangements. They'll actually liaise directly with next of kin, especially if next of kin are not present in Thailand, to go ahead and either ship that body back home. In some cases, specifically,
the costs of that would be incurred by the family?
Generally speaking, yeah.
Yep.
There also may be specific, we see this a lot where it's a foreign man married to a Thai woman.
Yep.
She wants to go ahead and do a cremation, or they may want to be buried here, and then basically the embassy just says, okay, that's good, go ahead. As long as they're the legal next of kin, or they're the specific executor of the will, or there's specific instructions in a will where that person is designated as the person that basically is going to deal with the body. Otherwise, frankly, the embassy, in my experience, really pretty well handles a lot of that. And they're really good about it, frankly, in the American context.
So can I add to the question?
Sure.
If you walk into your house and someone you love or someone you know or a friend is dead, what do? Do you call the police first?
Oh, yeah.
Police first.
Sure, yeah. Emergency services immediately.
Just get rid of the evidence.
Yeah, right. Do not be concerning yourself with the logistics of dealing with an embassy or whatever, because actually what will happen with a foreign national here is the police will arrive, they will do their thing, they will contact the embassy, and then they will start dealing with stuff. Now, I have seen situations where concurrently, like a spouse or something will contact the embassy as well. But rest assured, if you're a foreign national in Thailand, for example, Americans, they have a record of your passport. They're going to immediately call the duty officer at the embassy, and they're going to go ahead and start making arrangements to get your body back to where it needs to be.
Next question. That was only the first question.
Sure.
Can you bring a copy of your will with you and place it with a local attorney / lawyer?
Yeah, can, depending on circumstances. But when you say bring your will with you, and it's perfectly fine to have an instrument drafted abroad, but as we discussed in the other video, for Thai-related assets and things, you're probably going to want to have a Thai will anyway. So yeah, you could have copies of both of those instruments on file with a local attorney. I don't see any reason you couldn't.
If you have a will, either one that you've had done in Thailand or overseas, who should you leave that will with?
Generally speaking, my advice is to leave the instrument where you're wanting that bequest made. Leave it with a lawyer in that jurisdiction. So
instrument is the document.
Yeah, the will.
Fancy
sorry.
words from the lawyer.
Excuse me.
I'll translate.
Yeah. Testamentary instrument is a will. I personally think you want to leave a copy of that with the lawyer in the jurisdiction. You're going to want to have it probated. In Thailand, the direct translation is succession, but I often use probate interchangeably.
Okay. Next one is, this is mainly about people living in Thailand. If you die there as a tourist, is it a difficult process for, say, a family member to organise a cremation, and how much would it likely cost?
As to costs, I'm a bad person to ask that. I don't know the exact costs associated with that. I suspect it would
packet of matches,
some gasoline, like the.
Sorry to make fun of.
No,
very serious topic.
We shouldn't. Cost will likely be dependent on location. I suspect it'd be more expensive here in Bangkok than, say, it would be up in Chiang Rai or something. Although logistics could play into more costs with respect to that. As far as dying as a tourist, as opposed to somebody who's been here a long time, I mean, candidly, it really doesn't matter in a lot of different ways. The embassy's still going to be notified. The other thing to bear in mind is, in the eyes of Thai law, tourists and non-immigrant visa holders are in a very similar position. They're non-immigrant visa holders are not tourists. That's definitely true, but they're all considered non-resident. So, from the Thai standpoint, they're going to pretty well treat that all the same. So, even if you're a tourist, what's going to happen is the embassy is going to be notified, and then the embassy is going to sort of start running point on dealing with your next of kin, especially if they're back in the U.S. or if they're back abroad, wherever they're from, and they're also going to be dealing with any funeral preparations, funerary. They'll probably even arrange for a cremation if that is what the next of kin stipulates.
I suppose a follow-up to that is that if you have a specific request about how you want to be dealt with after you do die, you need to inform somebody and make sure that it's also mentioned in the will. Otherwise, it's going to be left to somebody else to make those decisions.
Yeah, we always leave the option with our clients to just specify what they want done. Some of our clients literally say, whatever my next of kin wants to do, it's up to them. Some have very specific instructions. It can all be set forth in the will.
So, speaking of which, how much to prepare a will?
Oh, well,
how long is a piece of string?
Yeah, how long is a piece of string? It depends on
what will Integrity Legal charge me to prepare a will?
I can't go into that. That really is case specific. Although that said, it generally speaking, it's not going to be a lot. I don't.
What's a lot to you?
Well, you're never going to see a will. I've never seen us charge for a will over 50,000 baht.
Okay.
But in those cases that it even came close to that, you're talking very complex instruments.
All right. So, okay, I'm a cheapskate.
Right.
What's the cheapest way to prepare a will? Looking at, say, 50 as a reasonable upper limit, what would be a lower limit? What's the cheapest way I could prepare a will? Scribble that out on a piece of paper and get it signed by your wife?
Well, you'll actually find some folks will go out and talk about so-called holographic wills, which are legal instruments in Thailand, to the best of my knowledge.
Okay.
Where it's a handwritten document that's signed by the person. That is not necessarily the best way to do it. There are formality requirements in Thailand that, if met, the issue with a will at the end of the day comes down to ease of what I call probate, what's called succession here, where it's basically how straightforward is it going to be to take that document into the court, and is the court just going to say, yep, that's the executor, there's the property, go deal with it, we're done here. That's what you're looking for. And a holographic will,
Why the word holographic? I think of holograms as a three-dimensional image.
That's just... That's
the word.
That's the terminology. It's a holographic will. The long story short, you want this thing to go through the process as smoothly as possible after you're gone. The formalities of that and the smoothness of that, there are two different ways also to do it. One is it will be registered on hand with the Ampur office. You can also do it without that registration. And again, this is why I'm really hesitant to give you any kind of a quote on how much you should be looking at, because it's really going to be fact dependent. There's certain clients that we have that it's not necessary to register this stuff at an Ampur office or a KET. And then there's some that we have that's, it's a really good idea to do that. It's going to be pretty case dependent. 50 is definitely a high number there. I've never seen it go very close to that, but the low end, I don't want to get into trying to figure that one out.
All right. Do your homework. That's the main thing. Make
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
it's legal.
Well, and whoever you're doing it with, you need to have them explain, okay, we're doing it this way, why? And then it should be explained in the context I just described. This is what will allow it to go through the court system in as smooth a motion as it possibly can.
All right. No such thing as a short answer here, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, this is a bit of repetition. What happens if I have a foreign will? Your suggestion was that you need to get it checked out to make sure that it embodies all the Thai requirements.
We have seen foreign wills executed in Thailand. Again, going back to that, how smooth is that process going to be through the Thai courts? Not very smooth at all. The last one of those, one of the attorneys in our office dealt with that I can recall. This would have been going back a couple of years was the last time we saw one of these. That case, just moving it through the court system took a year. And there were substantial costs associated with that. Those costs to your heir can be avoided by simply having an instrument set up for Thailand here in Thailand.
Will your wishes to be buried or cremated in Thailand be respected and not overturned by relatives?
Well, depends on the relatives. They may try.
It depends on the will.
Yeah, depends on the will. Again, if your wishes are stipulated, generally, I've never really seen anybody go out of their way to overturn someone's testamentary intent, someone's dying wishes. Now, that being said, I will say probate can kind of bring out the worst in people sometimes.
Oh, that happens everywhere.
Especially where there's heirs involved. So especially, not so much, I've never seen any issues of body disposal or anything really get like this, but possibly financial bequests. Again, it's a reason you want to be specific so that there aren't any disputes on that in the event of your passing.
As they say, where there's a will, there's a relative.
Yeah.
Here we go. Last one. How would the lawyer know that you're dead? Feel the pulse.
Well, and that here again, you're saying there where there's a will, there's a relative. Generally speaking, it's been my experience that folks that go ahead and draft a will, they let that beneficiary know, hey, I have this will, it's in my house. There's also a copy lodged with my lawyer.
Right.
And I've never had a case where that didn't happen. Once that will is done, that beneficiary knows. Usually it's a spouse anyway.
Okay, Ben, that's great. Thank you for that. And addressing all those questions from our viewers about the issues of dying in Thailand. We'll come back with another Lawyers, Guns and Money next time. There's a whole series, there's a whole playlist on the Thaiger, and you can go back and look through all sorts of different topics addressed by Ben Hart from Integrity Legal. Thanks for watching.